Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking those static, quiet web pages and, well, we're finally breathing life into them. We're going to see exactly how to transform standard layouts into dynamic, moving experiences. And we're doing it using the immense power of JavaScript and CSS animations. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with how JavaScript enters the browser, move into manipulating the live DOM, listening for user events, animating with CSS, and finally, how JavaScript triggers those CSS animations. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, JavaScript enters the browser, the handoff from server to client. So there's a really stark contrast to understand right off the bat here. It's effectively a passing of the baton. Server-side code, like PHP, it builds the page off-screen before it ever even reaches the browser. It's doing all of the heavy lifting behind the scenes. But client-side code, which is JavaScript, runs right inside the user's browser. It wakes up after the page has already arrived, and its sole job is to react to the user in real time. When we look at the brain of our code, it really comes down to variables, let and const. The golden rule that emerges from this? You want to default to const unless you truly need a value to change. Const stays the same. It locks down your values and prevents pesky bugs. You only switch over to let if the value specifically needs to be updated later on, like a score going up in a video game. Next up, we wrap this logic into functions, which are simply blocks of reusable code you can call as many times as you need. Now, you can use the classic declaration syntax with the function keyword. That's ideal for multiple lines of complex logic. Or, as the source material highlights, you can use the modern arrow syntax. You actually might recognize this from standard hamburger menu toggles. It's a fantastic shorthand that's absolutely perfect for simple logic. All right, section 2, manipulating the live DOM, the skeleton of the web page. This is where JavaScript actually reaches out and molds what the user sees. The DOM, or document object model, is not your raw HTML file sitting on a server, right? It is the live, in-memory version of your web page that's currently sitting in the browser's memory. In the DOM, every single tag is a node that JavaScript can find, grab, and completely change on the fly. So how do we actually change it? Well, we use a specific set of tools. We can use text content to swap out visible text instantly, or inner HTML to inject full HTML structures. JavaScript can also alter inline CSS properties directly using style, change a link or image source with set attribute, and, this is a big one, it can add, remove, or toggle entire CSS classes using class list. We can also totally alter the structure of the page after it loads. The workflow is beautifully simple here. Step 1, create element makes a brand new tag in memory. Step 2, append adds it to a parent element on the page so the user actually gets to see it. And step 3, remove deletes an element entirely. Think of a dynamic to-do list where you add a new task, or clicking a little X to dismiss a notification. That's this exact 3-step process in action. Let's look at a real-world mini-narrative of this, creating an auto-updating copyright year in a footer. It's such a tiny feature, but it makes a massive impact. Step 1, we get the current date object from the user's browser at runtime. Step 2, we use querySelector to find our specific copyright span in the DOM. Step 3, we use text content to inject the current year. Boom. Your site will never look out of date again, and JavaScript just does this quietly every single time the page loads. Moving on to section 3, listening for user events, the nervous system. This is how our page essentially feels user interactions, and it expands way, way beyond just simple mouse clicks. JavaScript patiently waits as this nervous system for the exact right moment to fire. We can listen for input to create a live character counter that updates exactly as you type. We can use change to react to dropdowns and checkboxes. Keydown and keyup let us feel specific keystrokes. And document dentist Smiths tells our code to safely wait until the entire HTML skeleton is fully parsed before it even tries to interact with it. Okay, section 4, animating with CSS, the muscle of the web page. If JavaScript is the brain and the nervous system, well, CSS is the muscle. Look at how a simple transition property elevates the user interface. By adding a transition duration and a timing function like ease in out, a button hover goes from feeling clunky and instantaneous to polished and professional. The transition smooths out that CSS property change over time, giving your interface this deeply satisfying, tactile feel. For more spatial control, the transform property lets you scale elements up or down, rotate them smoothly in 2D space, or translate them across the screen. And what's really incredible here is that transforms manipulate the element without breaking or shifting the overall page layout. It all happens on its own layer, making it absolutely perfect for smooth micro interactions. Now, for more complex movements, we bring in keyframes. While a transition just moves between two states, keyframes let you animate through as many steps as you need using percentages, from 0% all the way to 100%. This opens the door for beautifully complex things like soft fades, throbbing notification pulses, or even flowing gradient backgrounds. Which brings us to Section 5, JavaScript triggers CSS animations. The bridge. This is really the climax of the explainer. It's the bridge where logic and design snap together perfectly, almost like Lego bricks. Think of JavaScript and CSS as absolute partners, following a four-step sequence. 1. CSS defines exactly what the animation looks like. 2. JavaScript, our nervous system, listens for the event. 3. JavaScript, acting as the brain, toggles a specific class on our element. And 4. CSS, our muscle, takes over and actually plays the animation. So JavaScript decides the when, and CSS decides the how. So the really crucial point to take away here is that classless.toggle is the ultimate bridge between JavaScript and CSS. When you toggle a class like visible, you're instantly triggering the animations tied to that class. This is the exact same bridge that powers modern UI patterns like hamburger menus and dark mode toggles. We're just beautifully layering motion right on top of that foundation. To lock all these concepts in, the source material lays out a clear path for practice. It suggests starting with a controlled walkthrough of CSS animations, testing your knowledge with a quick quiz, and then applying absolutely everything you've learned directly to your live capstone site. All right, you have the tools. You understand the brain, the nervous system, and the muscle. The only question left is, how will you bring your own digital spaces to life? Get in there, experiment with these new interactive building blocks, and make the web move. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.